I'm going to walk through the steps to get this little code snippet to work, to use Apex to call Pardot to get a list of prospects. The two things I need to put in this code are the named credential and the business unit ID. This is just using the standard get prospects. Hopefully that's not too tricky. So the hard part is getting the authentication working and figuring out that business unit. So to get to the business unit, we'll do the simple one first. Go under marketing setup, and then your business unit setup, and this is the ID that you need. So put that in there. Now to get a named credential for this call out to work, there's a lot of hoops I have to jump through. So I don't have these written down. I'm just kind of winging it here. So hopefully I won't make too many mistakes. But so we have to set up a connected app so that we have like a client ID and secret. So that's just basic Salesforce setup. So I will go into App Manager, and we will create a new connected app, and we'll give it some name. I'll call it the Duo Pardot app. So I've been here before. I'll use my email, and we need to enable the OAuth, and I made note of what my callback URL should be, and it is going to be this. So you'll have to change probably this part of it and potentially this part of it. And the scopes is what I got tripped on for a while because the documentation didn't really match this because the names I think are changing. So in this org, it's still called Pardot. So I need that one to be able to make the calls. And then this is another one. This refresh token is, you really can't finish the authorization unless you have that one. You'll get a weird error. So I'll save that, and this generates the client and secret. So I'm going to copy these out. I know I'm in super secret mode here, so I gotta receive this code. So I got an email, pop it in there. Okay, so here's my ID. So I will just make note of that. I'm just putting it in a text editor so I can copy it easier. Okay, so now we have to create an authorization provider. So this is basically how the named credential is going to know which service to authorize with. I'm going to use Salesforce. You could probably get away with OpenID Connect. I'm going to use Salesforce because it has these pre-populated. And this is where that last slash Pardot comes in. That was in the callback URL. So if you use a different name here, then you'll have to change that callback URL to have slash whatever you put here. So this is my old keys from before. So I'll put the new one in, the new secret in, and I'll put those same scopes in here. Although I probably don't need it because I can just pass it in later. Okay. So here's, like, for example, the callback URL. So if this is what you could copy this and then paste it back into the connected app instead of trying to type it all out. Okay, so I've got an authorization provider. So now I have to set up the named credentials. And I'll start with the external credential. And I will call it the duo Pardot external credential. And it is OAuth. And the provider is that one that I created. And the scope is going to be those two. And we'll save that. And now we will authorize it. So I'm going to make this my EJ login. And it's going to be... We'll do a named principal. I don't know, I always put the scopes in here. Okay, so it's not configured. So now we're going to authenticate. And now we are basically logging into that Pardot. So I put in my username and password. So now this is that connected app, granting me the services that I requested, and I allow it. So now this is configured. So now we can actually finally create the actual named credential that the Apex code is going to reference. Named credential. This is the one we need. The URL. So for me, because I'm in a demo org, I use that. But if you're using, I think, a production org, you would leave out the demo. But I got to leave that in there. So the external credential is the one I already created. And that is all I need. Save that. Now I have to give myself access to use that external name credential. So for that, I like to create a permission set. And I would call it like duo Pardot access. And give it access like this. And then add myself to the group. This one. And put in the name credential in here. And then see if we can run it. So I'm just going to run this anonymously. And yep, I've got the data back. So that's it. So now that I have a named credential, I guess it would be trivial to call this from a flow, especially since I have the sample JSON response. So in a flow, you would just do the HTTP callout, and you'd be basically giving it this named credential with that URL on the end of it. For now, I'm sticking with Apex, so I'm not going to go down the flow route. But that's it. I hope this helped. if I'm doing it in a weird way and you have a better way to do it, I'd love to hear about it. That's it. That's all for this one.